I love doggos so much, and I have a feeling that you do as well. That's why I'm very excited to partner up with Embark. They are a dog DNA testing kit, and they are amazing. I've done it on both of my pups. Top shelf. Love what they do. So go to embarkvet.com, and this will get you free shipping and save $60 with this promo code RAY, R-A-Y. So visit embarkvet.com to get free shipping and save $60 with the promo code RAY. Test your doggos, find out so much about them.
Are you crime curious? iHeart Podcasts has gathered the best true crime all in one podcast feed. iHeart True Crime Plus. It's packed with podcasts about unsolved murders, missing persons, organized crime, and more. So there's always something good to binge and share. iHeart True Crime Plus subscribers also enjoy ad-free listening, early access to select episodes, and exclusive bonus content. Subscribe to iHeart True Crime Plus today, exclusively on Apple Podcasts.
The world of chocolate has been turned upside down.
A very unusual situation.
You saw the stacks of cash in our office.
Chocolate comes from the cacao tree, and recently, varieties of cacao thought to have been lost centuries ago were rediscovered in the Amazon.
There is no chocolate on Earth like this.
Now some chocolate makers are racing deep into the jungle to find the next game-changing chocolate, and I'm coming along.
Okay, that was a very large crocodile.
Listen to Obsessions of Wild Chocolate on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to 100 Words or Less with Ray Harkins. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for downloading this podcast about independent music and interviewing people who are shaped by it, create it, are involved in it in some way, shape, or form. That is what I do here. It's whether it's hardcore, punk, indie rock, whatever it is, it's people in small, sweaty rooms yelling at each other. And not in a mean way, but sometimes in a mean way. But the guest this week is Jason Stewart. Real interesting story that I got into this particular person's brand, as it were. But he is the host of a podcast called How Long Gone, where him and his best friend Chris Black basically interview people in the the cultural shaping community. And what I mean by that is people in like food and being internet famous and writers. It's just a lot of interesting people from a lot of different interesting places. And he also is Jason is a DJ, operates under the moniker Them Jeans. And so I dove into How Long Gone, the podcast, probably about 3 or 4 months ago. And it was funny because once I started listening to it, I was just like, these dudes like care a lot about hardcore. Like they have a lot of experience about it. And like they're not dropping like, oh cool, like Minor Threat and Misfit references. They're like, 2 or 3 levels deep and joking with other people about them going to the Del Taco parking lot in Orange County or whatever. And I was like, what is this? I'm like, I gotta do some deep dive research into this. And then the moment that I pulled up Jason's profile on Instagram, I was like, oh, it's that dude. And for whatever reason, I just did not place and follow his own personal trajectory. But I saw him at shows for many, many years. He was that tall drink of water in the back of the room because he's like 6'5", 6'6". We actually joke about it. But yeah, it's just really cool when you have all this full circle moments and you're like, oh, wow, that's cool. This person has been, doing a lot of interesting things within the context of, music and, like I said, sort of, cultural shaping stuff, but because he's a big person within the culinary industry and food influencer, I guess you would call it. I don't know. I'm sure he would take objection to that description, but regardless, Jason, good dude, great chat. We dive in deep about all of his experiences with DJing, with growing up in the OC hardcore scene, and it was really interesting. And I suggest, for those of you that are that want an easy hang on a podcast, definitely listen to How Long Gone. It's fun. There's a lot of maybe inappropriate talk about drugs. According to me, a straight edge adult, but it's fun nonetheless. But Jason and his co-host Chris Black, they have a lot of fun. Like I said, they drop a lot of hardcore references and knowledge, and it's really, really fun. So what you can do, you can always email the show, 100wordspodcast@gmail.com. And I'm going to pose a question to you. Do you think shows are going to happen in the fall? I see all of these tours being announced, and I'm like, on one hand, I'm like, okay, these bigger festivals that are outdoors and stuff, like, I get that. It's like, that feels, for lack of a better term, like safe to plan for. But, people like packed into 1,000 cap room, like, I don't know, man, it seems weird. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, maybe we're just all like a little gun shy. But anyways, email the show, 100wordspodcast@gmail.com. You can also review and rate the show on Apple Podcasts. Obviously, all the things that, all the typical podcasts request of you to do, I also request of you to do. But let's dive into the conversation with Jason. It was a real fun one, and I was excited that he was willing to come on the show. So that's what we got, and I will talk to you after the episode is over. I was like, wait, I remember this dude from shows. And so I'll, basically just tripped onto your podcast via being a podcast nerd myself and, listened to a few episodes. And I was like, wait, there's a lot of core talk in these podcasts. Mm-hmm. And then once I saw your picture and then I was like, oh yeah, I remember this dude going to shows because obviously you're a giant amongst, all of us. I mean, I'm 6 foot tall and you're what, 6'7", right?
6'9", actually.
Oh, damn, dude. Well, yeah. Sorry to cut down 2 inches off of you, but
that's fine. I mean, anything above, 6'6" or 7" or something like that, it's all just the same rarefied air. Whatever it is, it's too tall.
Yeah, for sure. And so I just thought it was interesting because and I'm sure you have this experience, like when you're, out there in the quote unquote real world and not in, sweaty rooms with people jumping on top of each other, finger pointing, you have a kinship with these people immediately when you're like, oh, you experience the same thing, like maybe it's not going to the same venues, but it's just like that camaraderie that a subculture kind of brings together. And I realize this is probably maybe a big question to lead off with, but it seems like most people have had at least some experience with that, independent subculture and have gone on to do, interesting, cool things that might not directly be related to like, punk or hardcore.
Yes.
And do you see that as obviously kind of a through line as you've been bouncing around? Because, you've done a lot of random stuff. And so have you, I guess, run across people in a lot of those, different areas that you've traveled in?
I mean, I see the through line happening a lot, obviously, in like the hardcore, straight edge, etc. world. But, and that kind of is a thing that just always happens. And when you find out somebody comes from that background and then you're like, oh, where are you from? How old are you? And then you kind of like place it all together of like, oh, you're probably this kind of person based on all that information. And you're usually pretty right. But, I like when you find somebody who matches that rare subculture and then also like 3 other ones, then it turns into like an extra bond where like, it doesn't even matter if I like this person or not. I'm like, related to them, basically, like,
right.
Like yeah. Once you're straight edge, and then you're like, oh, well, you were probably vegan or vegetarian, and then maybe you got into tattooing or graffiti or whatever the 5 to 10 things that you could do at a certain age if you're in that world, and if you collect a bunch of them, then you're like, oh shit, like this person and I probably have too much in common, like to the point where it's a little scary.
Right.
And it's a random person who lives in, Iowa that you've never met, but you're like, oh, I know you more than my own family, probably.
Right. No, it is true. And I think it is interesting when you're talking about, the wide brush that people paint with, their creative juices, as it were, where it's like, you're able to trace all these things back to be like, oh yeah, like, you were this sort of kid and like you did have those same experiences, but now you're, whatever, obviously with your experience, being a DJ and, in the fashion world and the food world, as it were. It's funny to kind of like pull all those threads together to be like, it's like you can almost sniff some people out even before you know it. You're just like, I think you know what's up. And then you ask them a question and they're like, oh yeah, you do know what's up.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah,
That's fun.
it happens. It happens more and more as time goes on, and it's weird how the doing the podcast has sort of brought those worlds together. Because after I stopped being, a part of the whole straight edge, vegan, etc. world, I entered a whole different world, and I did not, do anything involving any of those people for many years. Believe it or not, the world of DJing and doing drugs and partying does not have a lot of straight edge people in it. Even though I started getting into it through Steve Aoki, who was,
Yep.
a big member of that world. But when you're partying and getting fucked up and all that stuff, like, you don't meet all those people, and they don't meet you, and they don't want to talk to you, and you don't want to talk to them, and it's just kind of segregated. But then, now that everyone's gotten a little bit older and kind of calmed down, and their lives are a little more similar, and people are having careers and starting families and settling down a little bit, then everyone kind of all comes back together as like, oh, we're all just kind of humans at the end of the day, and we don't have to be like trying to fight everybody all the time.
This segregated scene where it's just like, oh yeah, that person's a sellout, let's completely toss them out with the garbage or whatever.
That's right. And that was me, which was fine. It was funny, but it wasn't a problem because I was thrown out into the garbage, but nobody, I never saw those people. They never saw me. So out of sight, out of mind. But now we're all kind of coming back together, and people that I know from straight edge back in the day through Instagram or podcasting or whatever, somebody who I would think like would want to fight me 10 years ago is now like listening to my podcast and sending me food recommendations,
Right. Well, to be clear, I never wanted to fight you, so I think we're okay.
All right.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like we never met, but I just like I remember. And I'm sure you have those people in your mind where it's just like, oh yeah, we were in the same rooms together, but we just never formally met. It was never like, oh, Ray, meet Jason. Jason, meet Ray, even though we were at millions of the same shows together.
Yes. Yeah. And I had known, your band and, saw them on a zillion different flyers and
of course.
I'm sure I've seen your band play, and we've been in 100 different shows together, but yeah, we have never met or talked before this.
Right. You, so backing up, were you born in Huntington Beach, or where'd you come up?
Yeah, I'm from Huntington Beach. Yeah.
HB local, as it were.
In high school, all that stuff.
What, so, I obviously I'm going to presume that the, 18 Visions kids were, all kind of surrounding you, as it were, as you were going through high school and stuff.
Yeah. Got into like hardcore and straight edge stuff like around 93 or so. When I was like in middle school, and then, I went to middle school with a lot of those guys, and went to high school with Dave and James Hart and Ken Floyd and all those guys. We weren't really close friends or anything like that, but we definitely knew each other and had a lot of similar friends. And then after that, when everyone started meeting everyone from all the different neighboring cities, like Newport, where you're from, and beyond, that was about it.
Yeah. And so how, I guess you're kind of, I'm going to imagine your upbringing was kind of, sort of typical suburban, white dude upbringing of, whatever, white picket fence, mom and dad in the house, that sort of stuff. Is that correct, or am I way off base?
Actually, a little bit, not really. Like we were, my family was a little bit more on the lower middle class. But luckily, because like my family moved to Orange County in like the 70s through my grandpa. He got a job, but then my grandma and grandpa divorced, and then I kind of lived in the house that they all grew up in. So we didn't really have a ton of money, but I was around a lot of people who did. Obviously Orange County has a lot of wealth in there, and even though I didn't grow up with as much money and opportunities as a lot of my friends did, everyone was still really cool and welcoming, and there was never really any like bad vibes going on.
Yeah. Do you have a older brother, younger brother?
Actually, I have a twin brother.
Holy moly! Well, maybe that's who. Like, did he go to shows or no?
He did go to shows. Yeah, he was not. He was not exactly in the same kind of scenes as I was, but he was also, straight edge and into all the same music as well. But we kind of had a lot of similar friends and still do, but we kind of had our own friend groups a little bit, which was good and encouraged for twins, especially in the high school years.
Right. Yeah. It's like, hey, we're doing a lot of the same stuff. We have to have a little bit different.
Yeah. It's just healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
People thought that was healthy back then. But yeah,
well,
we both grew up going to shows at the library, and our world definitely opened up when you found out you can like meet girls at the library that you grew up going to because
they're seeing Mineral, right?
The reason we're going to play, and every cute girl in a 50-mile radius was going to be there wearing some Jack Purcells and overalls, and you might get to touch a titty at Del Taco at the end of the day.
Yeah, dude, if you play your cards right.
If you play those cards right.
Yeah. Well, then maybe I was just seeing your brother, and I don't even, I don't even know you. I'm just kidding.
Possible. I mean, even though we are twins, we look very different, and also he's like 6 feet tall, and I'm 6'9", so there was always a height difference to where people were kind of surprised to hear that we were twins. Right.
And so what kind of, I'm assuming that, because you, the person that I know as far as your public display, you're, obviously very sarcastic, dry sense of humor, that sort of stuff. Was that kind of always who you were, or was that something that, kind of a learned trait as you grew up?
I think it was probably always who I was. I mean, as far as I can remember in terms of, a sense of humor or a way that you interact with the world. But yeah, I don't really know how I got it or how I picked it up. I just remember when I was a kid and I didn't have that many friends, I would just always be bored. So sarcasm was a way to, help get you through the day. But I mean, I grew up watching, being really into comedy and stuff. My brother and I would watch Kids in the Hall and SNL and, The State and Mr. Show and all that stuff. So we were always into comedy all the time. Even when we were little kids, we were watching SNL when we were like 6 years old or something at a friend's house. So it's always been a huge part of my life. Just, it's super fun making people laugh, or at least trying to.
Right. Yeah. Whether you succeed or not. And I guess your what you got into. I mean, like you said, you got introduced to kind of the punk and hardcore scene when you were 12 or 13. Prior to that, like, what sort of kid did you find yourself being? Were you doing the the sport train? Were you kind of like an indoor kid? Where'd you find yourself? Yeah, my brother and I grew up playing baseball, like Little League, and we were in Boy Scouts, and we were pretty good kids on the straight path. On the poison-free train. And then, once you hit around that age, middle school age, then you start realizing that you have to start, enjoying some extreme sports activities and, stuff like that. You have to put down the Boy Scout badge and pick up a skateboard or a BMX bike or something and, start playing guitar, start, blowing stuff up, whatever it is that you're into. Sure. But yeah, we were always pretty active, cruising around type of kids. We actually, another odd hardcore fact, my brother, when we were like in kindergarten, he was best friends with Jimmy Sullivan, who was the drummer from Avenged Sevenfold, who passed away. Oh, yeah. But he grew up like a couple of streets down from us, and we would just go to his house and he would go to our house when we were like 5 years old and just hang out. And even when we were little kids, he was just like a drum maniac. And that's why, like, him being into music got us into music. We got a guitar and pretended like we knew how to play. And we'd be like, oh, I learned how to like tune the guitar. And he'd be like, okay, let's play Metallica 1. And we're like, I don't know how to do that. Right. Do you have something easier? Right. Yeah. Did you care about school, or was that something that you just kind of, coasted through? Not really. I peaked around the 5th grade in school, never really cared about it. I just never
was interested or paid much attention to. And I was really into science and stuff when I was younger, but never really applied myself in the world of school whatsoever, unfortunately.
Sure.
I never read. I mean,
right.
But
The holidays are descending upon us. Everyone is running around like crazy people trying to get their shopping done. Let me just solve that problem for you. No one is ever going to say no to this gift. And this gift is the Raycon wireless earbuds, headphones, or speakers. I love all of these products unequivocally. I use them every single day. And what makes them even cooler? They have 54 hours of battery life. They have a very comfortable fit. They will not fall out. I love them so much. They also have these rad holiday bundles. My personal favorite is the Audio Lover, which includes the everyday earbuds and the everyday headphones. So please, right now, go to buyraycon.com/Ray and use the code EARLYBF to get 20% off site-wide. That's 20% off of any Raycon product, which seriously never happens. Or you can save even bigger and get 30% off of Raycon's exclusive holiday bundles. That Audio Lover thing I was telling you about, do that. That's code EARLYBF at buyraycon.com/Ray for 20% off your Raycon purchase. Buyraycon.com/Ray and solve all of your holiday gift giving problems for your dad, your mom, your brother, sister. I don't care who, put it in their stocking. They will love you. Buyraycon.com/Ray, code EARLYBF. I love dogs so much. That's why I'm incredibly excited to welcome Embark on as a sponsor. They are a dog DNA testing kit, and what makes them cool is they scan for 215 genetic health risks across 350 breeds. And I want to give you $60 off and free shipping. So go to embarkvet.com, use the promo code RAY, and it unlocks that offer. And it also unlocks so many cool things that you can find out about your pup. And it's super easy. You get a little test tube with a Q-tip, you put it in the pup's mouth, send it back to Embark. They email you all of these results. It's very fast, easy, and I love doing it. 72% of pup parents are puzzled when it comes to their dog's breed. It's time to end these guessing games. This holiday season, give the dog lover in your life something they won't expect, the chance to decode their dog. It's the perfect time to shop for an Embark dog DNA test. Right now, Embark has a limited time offer on their breed and health kit and purebred kit for listeners of this show. Go to embarkvet.com to get free shipping and save $60 with promo code RAY. Visit embarkvet.com and use promo code RAY to save $60 today. Do it for your pup. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Wouldn't it be absolutely incredible if you got an instruction guide for life, where you're going through some relationship issues or drama at work or whatever challenging situation that is presented to you? You got a little pamphlet that helped you walk through that. What's awesome about therapy is that it kind of is. You're able to speak to a third person, talk about the issues you're having, and they can maybe offer some solutions for you that you can get unstuck. BetterHelp has connected over 3 million people and counting with licensed therapists, 100% online. So that means it is more convenient, more accessible, and more affordable. You just fill out a brief questionnaire and you get matched with the therapist in less than 48 hours. If things are not vibing between you and the therapist, you can switch out to a new therapist at any time. You got no waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. It's an amazing service and I wholeheartedly endorse them. Learn more and save 10% off your first month when you sign up today at betterhelp.com/Ray. That's betterhelp.com/Ray. Get some therapy and get unstuck. Yo, it's the summertime, or it's almost the summertime. We're spring. You need to get an entirely new wardrobe of cool band shirts, and you can do that by going to rockabilia.com. And then you can use this code 100 words that gets you 10% off your entire order. It's an incredible place where you can buy officially licensed band merch. I have to stress that point, officially licensed. It's none of this horrific bootleg ripoffs where the bands aren't getting paid. And you're getting high quality merch that's shipped to you very effectively and efficiently. I love this company so much. You hear me talk about them week in and week out, but I assure you, you need to have that experience for yourself. They have over 500,000 items. Like, you really can get lost in their website in a good way for a good hour and a half, which I definitely have on many different instances. So go to rockabilly.com, buy the officially licensed merch for yourself, for your significant other, for your friends, for your family, whatever it is. Use this code 100 words, 10% off, and you will be outfitting your closet with a bunch of rad new stuff. So there you go. Rockabilly.com, 100 words, have fun. For lack of a better term, like what was the, I guess, life path? Like, what did your, did your parents have hopes and dreams for what little Jason was going to become?
We did not really know. I knew that it was going to be something, I was always like really into music. So I thought it was going to be something, artistic or musical. Like, when I was in high school, I was making zines and really into photography and playing guitar and all that stuff. So I knew it was going to be something in that world versus, I'm going to go to USC and get a business degree or whatever, like I knew it was going to be something like that. And then, as soon as I was able to, get enough friends or enough money together to move out of Orange County and up to LA, that's when I did that.
Sure, you pursued the musical stuff.
I just wanted to have some. I felt very trapped in Orange County. I feel like I needed to, at the time, escape to find some more culture. I was not really into the level of culture in LA. Or in Orange County. We would go up to LA every week or every weekend and just, even with nothing to do or nowhere to go, just kind of cruise around and just see stuff.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, your brother kind of bounced you into getting into like punk and hardcore and stuff like that. What kind of drew you to it as you started to understand that there was music that obviously was not played on the radio and like the screaming nature of stuff and like all these things that are a little bit left of center? Like, what drew you in?
I would say I was just really excited to find music that I had to find versus was just given to me. Because like at that age, you're growing up with MTV and the radio and all this stuff. So we would have this music. It was like music and like punk music and everything was really big in Orange County. Even if you didn't, even my mom would listen to K-Rock or whatever. Taking us to school in the morning and you'd hear, in between all the shitty music, they'd still play some like interesting pop music or punk music, and even the bad stuff like NoFX or Sublime or whatever. Like all these bands, like it was just everyone listened to it. It's just what was going on in Orange County. And then I just didn't really find a way that I felt like I belonged with any of that music I was listening to. Like at the time, it was like Metallica and Pantera and just kind of like gnarly metal stuff is what I would be into, but I didn't really identify myself as one of those people. I would listen to Nirvana and Alice in Chains and all these grunge bands, but I wasn't like a grunge person. I was like I wasn't partying or doing drugs. I wasn't smoking weed or anything like that. And I didn't have long hair and I wasn't, getting wasted. It was that's just what I liked the most. And then when I discovered hardcore music, I don't even remember how I did it. I just saw some friends in middle school, and maybe it was Dave or one of those guys. But I remember they had a cassette. I think it was a cassette of from the band Function.
Oh yeah, of course.
To it, and they were like a local Huntington Beach band, and at that age, around 13 or something like that, like someone's older brother will like. Get you into some, like here's a Bad Religion cassette or something like that. And then, their younger brother finds a cooler band and it just tapes and CDs and stuff like that just kind of get passed around. And then when you find out that this band is from the same city that you live in, they live down the street. That was like, I remember that being a crazy feeling like, whoa, these people are, they're like the cool kids of the school. They're playing these concerts and, they live probably like a half a mile away from where you grew up your entire life, but they're making rad music that you like. And I remember that being exciting. Like it made me want to like go and hang out and support them and see it live. And maybe there'd be people like you around there that, you could be friends with.
Yeah, no, it is cool. Like when you find that, this isn't even a word, like touchability of like, oh my gosh, like, what 1134 is just down the street, or adamantium is from Newport. Like you just start to be like, oh, I guess this is, for lack of a better term, possible.
Yes, it was possible. And thanks to shows being around, it was kind of like everyone could hang out and be together and see each other. But there'd be like a goal or a mission or a reason versus like, oh, we're going to go to someone's house and do some beer bongs or whatever, where you just kind of sit around. And then, it wasn't as exciting or stimulating to me at that age. I wanted to go out and, meet random people and see like, oh, there's this kid from Dana Point that I really think is hilarious, and we become friends. Or there's a cute girl from Fullerton that, I hope she's going to be there tonight, or whatever it is. And it was like something fun and something to do, and it felt cooler than, going to like a church group or something like that, even though we did do that sometimes if we were really bored. But
right.
Well, it was cool to just like go, and it was like a social scene, and it kind of felt like everyone was okay with it, because the whole message was like, oh no, Mom, it's cool. Like the whole point is like everyone's sober, no one's doing drugs. Like it's all good. That felt like, our mom would be okay with us going out
right
late at night if we're just going to go watch some bands play and, kick some people every once in a while.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah. Maybe do some cliff diving, after you eat Taco Loco, all that stuff.
Taking me back,
but no, I think you hit the nail on the head in regards to kind of like we weren't defining it as such, like the productivity, but it's like you were just hanging out and of course wasting time and doing a bunch of stupid stuff, but then there was hopefully something to show from it in regards to, like you said, shows, or like, for your experience of putting out zines, and like there was something beyond, like you said, literally just spending time on the weekend and then being like, oh, that was, on the Monday being like, oh, that was sick. And it's like, you had something to show for it.
Yeah. All the things that you love to do in life, and things that identify you as a person, you have an outlet for it. You have a subject to do it. So if you're really into photography, then like, oh, I have to go to the show and shoot it. It's going to be an amazing thing. And I'm going to go take my film and develop it, and go, to my high school photo class on Monday, and maybe I'll have a cool photo of Torn Apart from the Showcase Theater, and then maybe, I'll put that in my zine next week, and everyone will think that I'm the best photographer in the world, or whatever. Or even if you're just into clothes and fashion, or you just bought a new shirt, or you have a new pair of shoes or something, like you have a reason to wear it. You have a reason to do something, and it's not just, to get fucked up.
Yeah, for sure. No, I like that. And you, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, did you ever play in a band?
No, I actually never played in a band, no. I love music. I was never into band. I would fuck around with some friends and stuff like that every once in a while, but I never liked it.
Never got it together to, play a terrible show at Chain Reaction.
Thank God it never happened. Yeah. Just imagining how I was when I was, in high school, the level of insecurity or anxiety or whatever stage fright was, like, I don't even think I could handle it.
Right. Well, let's be honest. That didn't stop a lot of people.
It's true. I'm more power to folks like you who are able to do it, especially with a clear mind.
Right. Exactly. Well, I think the idea that you
find me in my 20s and ask me if I ever DJ'd sober, and the answer would be a strong no. I don't know.
Right.
How do you do that?
Right. You're like, I literally have to get the most inebriated possible in order to get up and act like an idiot in front of all of you.
Yeah, it's kind of part of the job.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And so on that same tip, like there was such an interesting confluence of, to your point of what we were talking about earlier, where, as people get older and, whatever, graduate high school, go to college, participate in touring bands, and like all of these, elements of life start to play into each other. I found it so interesting that it was like, late 90s, early 2000s, obviously when the whole club bang scene and the early 2000s with, obviously Stevie Aoki doing everything that he was doing. And it was such an interesting thing because what you were joking about earlier, where it's like, you had all of these, kids who were growing up and being like, oh, well, straight edge. No, I don't need to be that anymore. It's either not important to me or I don't want to be. Was it funny for you to kind of obviously kind of go through that and witness that and then being like, wait, you were totally just making fun of me 2 years ago, yet you're, front row as a, at Cinespace or whatever, getting messed up. How was your experience kind of getting through that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was kind of no pun intended, the bonds of friendship were strong when it was like seeing somebody from jail on the other side of just, and you kind of have a laugh, easier to happen, if you're fucked up at the time. But yeah, you would see people out and partying, and even straight edge friends, I would be DJing some party and, it would be a very cool party to go to. So even old straight edge friends of mine would be there. And it was just always a funny thing to me. It was funny to see, people from that world in my world now. And it was nice. It was cool that everyone was really welcoming about it and nobody was being a dick. And I hopefully wasn't being a dick.
Right. Yeah. Well, when you were sober, I'm sure.
Yeah, Well, luckily, I'm a happy, funny, smiley drunk, and not a dark, fighty drunk.
Right, not a malicious drunk.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah. And because of your your interest, obviously, in fashion and food, and how all of these things kind of converge. Did you, I guess, feel that you could kind of do this wide variety of things as you started to kind of, maybe getting a little burnt out on the whole, DJ world, because like you were saying, that's, that might be a young man's game after a while. You didn't say that. I just put the words in your mouth, but so
I've said many a time. So
right. Okay. So did you see that you could kind of pull these threads together because they were all, somewhat connected in your own head, or was it just kind of spray and pray?
Ever since, did you say spray and pray?
I did say spray and pray.
I've never heard that before, and I like it.
Hey, man, use it. Yeah, it's a fun one.
It's not a military marine term, okay, or not a Call of Duty term.
It is not. I've heard it in reference to advertising where, if someone's spending $100,000 and they don't have any idea what they're doing, they're spraying and praying.
Okay. That I like, because it does have a little bit of a kill 'em all and the God sort of energy, which,
It does. Yes, I know, which, fortunately the military is not a huge listenership base of this podcast, nor a sponsor. So we're good. We're good.
This podcast is not brought to you by the U.S. Marine Corps, thank God.
No, yeah, it's not like Warped Tour.
Well,
shots fired.
Fuck you, Warped Tour. Fuck the Marines. So, what was it? Yeah. Wait, what were we talking about?
No, we were talking. I was just saying, pulling the threads together of all the stuff you were interested in.
Yeah, so that was a thing that I had inside of me my entire life. For whatever reason, I was never able to just focus on one thing and do it and stick to it. I always, it had to be an inherent part of me to be the guy that can do a little bit of everything all the time. I always had to be, I couldn't just I'm into this type of music. I had to have such a wide variance of interests that it would impress even the most, hard to impress raconteur type of person. If I was DJing, I couldn't just I'm just going to play rap music for an hour. I had to I always had to do something different and irreverent and, a zig instead of a zag. I always had to do something that, 10 different things at once instead of one. And I don't really know what the root or the psychology behind that is, but there's probably
the proverbial jack of all trades, master of none.
That is me to a T.
That's good. Well, but honestly,
otherwise I just straight up get bored. That's what it comes down to.
And totally, and I understand that because I think that there is.
I really do think that there's something inherent with people that get attracted to subcultures and frankly get obsessed with it. Because like you said, part of your passion in getting into, music was kind of the 7 different deeper levels of being like, yes, cool. I know what Promise and, Promise Ring and Texas the Reason are, but like, let's talk about Frail, it's like, I want to be obsessed with things. And I think that it does take a certain person to kind of become obsessive about that. And then to your point, just being like, well, I can probably be obsessive about, coffee or whatever. Like you just start to go down these other rabbit holes, and it's only because your brain gets so stimulated by that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's probably some type of, childhood psychology in there of a desire to, or an overwhelming desire to try to impress people. So in my mind, if I was able to do 10 different things well, then that was going to be more impressive and people were going to think I'm cooler and love me more, something like that is probably where I think it comes from. But I don't know. I mean, now looking back, I'm glad I was like that, because otherwise I would just be boring, I guess.
Right. What?
My own self.
Sure. Just because I find usually these stories humorous, what did you, I guess, sell out on, or what did you, was this a very grandiose, like a straight edge dropping story, or was this pretty much like I guess I'll just, drink this Miller Lite now.
Is this a recurring theme on the show?
No, honestly not. I just think that people that, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure you've seen some people have this experience where the people that drop edge, like just look back at that time and, maybe talk crap and are like, oh, straight edge is a kid's thing and whatever. This is, me saying this is a 40-year-old straight edge adult, which I don't even need to call myself that anymore, but because, that's kind of weird. But I just find it interesting that people like yourself who, it's not like you look at straight edge being like, oh man, that was so stupid. I was that or whatever. Like, you've never, in my opinion, you've never actively talked crap on it. So that's why I bring that up.
Yeah. When you really kind of hone in on the reason why somebody becomes straight edge and why they stop being straight edge, it usually is peer pressure from your friends that you're trying to impress. And that's, the same exact reason why I became straight edge was because, is the same reason why I stopped being straight edge, was just, all the cool people that I was hanging out with at the time who I wanted to impress were all straight edge, and I wanted to hang out with them and sit at their table at high school. And so, if at a certain point, if I want to keep doing that and, be getting in their good graces, I'm going to have to buy a Strife hoodie at some point so they can start respecting me and start saying that I'm straight edge just like them, and we can, form those bonds together. And then eventually when, if the friend group starts enjoying the fine indicas and sativas of Orange County, then it's only a matter of time until I'll be going down that same route. And so it was like, all the same friends that I became straight edge with had all kind of stopped being straight edge and started drinking and smoking weed and stuff like that. And I remember it was basically, I think it was like in a car. No, it was actually Main Street, Huntington Beach.
Perfect.
Attempted to smoke some weed in my friend's car before we were about to go walk around, Main Street on a Saturday night or something like that. And I remember I did not successfully or correctly inhale, so I did not achieve a high from it. And it did actually end up taking a few more tries for me to finally learn how to inhale properly, because I had never been drunk. I had never smoked a cigarette. I've never done any drugs. So I had no idea what I was doing for a while, which I guess is kind of cute looking back now.
Yeah.
and the same when I stopped being vegan, just like, hey, we all smoke weed now, and, we all stopped being vegan. And now, we don't want to, I guess you being vegan makes us feel bad about ourselves and our choices. So you have to stop being vegan now. And
right. The herd mentality.
The herd mentality. So we're going to get you very stoned. And And then I remember they're like, wherever you want to go, we'll buy you dinner. What do you want? And I was like, I want nachos, bro. I got to go out the same way I went in. And I remember we just hit the drive-through. Unfortunately, it was Taco Bell and not Del Taco.
I was gonna say it's at, yeah. I was gonna say it is completely appropriate to sell out veganism on Del Taco. Like that's kind of whatever. That's like different zip code stuff.
I didn't want Del Taco to see what I had become, I think. So I felt like I was cheating on my main girl with my mistress, which was Taco Bell at the time. Now I would never set foot inside of a Taco Bell. The thought of it is blasphemy.
Yep.
But at the time I had some Taco Bell nachos, ate it in my friend's car, in Fountain Valley or something probably, and then the rest was history. But I still love I still eat vegan food all the time, and it's like a big part of my life. And straight edgeism is not as big of a part of my life anymore, but I always have thought that it was an amazing way to grow up as a kid. I'm always really proud that I was straight edge, and I'm really grateful for the fact that I found it when I was at that age, because, it was either going to be that or, just getting fucked up. And I was already on track to not be doing great, even though I was drug free. So I'm really happy and really grateful that I found it. And, I was probably a dumbass and an idiot in my 20s when I was figuring the rest of my life out. But I'm glad that I had that when I was at those very integral developing years of my life.
Right. Yeah. No, it is. I mean, it obviously buys you into an identity and a friend group and like all of these things that are, sometimes very difficult to penetrate when you are of the age. So yeah, I totally understand.
I didn't have a lot of friends, was not very popular. And,
there you go.
All those guys wearing black JanSports and hoodies brought me in with open arms.
Absolutely. Open arms and X'd up hands.
The holidays are descending upon us. Everyone is running around like crazy people trying to get their shopping done. Let me just solve that problem for you. No one is ever going to say no to this gift. And this gift is the Raycon wireless earbuds, headphones, or speakers. I love all of these products unequivocally. I use them every single day. And what makes them even cooler? They have 54 hours of battery life. They have a very comfortable fit. They will not fall out. I love them so much. They also have these rad holiday bundles. My personal favorite is the Audio Lover, which includes the everyday earbuds and the everyday headphones. So please, right now, go to buyraycon.com/Ray and use the code EARLYBF to get 20% off site-wide. That's 20% off of any Raycon product, which seriously never happens. Or you can save even bigger and get 30% off of Raycon's exclusive holiday bundles. That Audio Lover thing I was telling you about, do that. That's code EARLYBF at buyraycon.com/Ray for 20% off your Raycon purchase. Buyraycon.com/Ray and solve all of your holiday gift giving problems for your dad, your mom, your brother, sister. I don't care who, put it in their stocking. They will love you. Buyraycon.com/Ray, code EARLYBF. I love dogs so much. That's why I am incredibly excited to welcome Embark on as a sponsor. They are a dog DNA testing kit, and what makes them cool is they scan for 215 genetic health risks across 350 breeds. And I want to give you $60 off and free shipping. So go to embarkvet.com, use the promo code RAY, and it unlocks that offer. And it also unlocks so many cool things that you can find out about your pup. And it's super easy. You get a little test tube with a Q-tip, you put it in the pup's mouth, send it back to Embark. They email you all of these results. It's very fast, easy, and I love doing it. 72% of pup parents are puzzled when it comes to their dog's breed. It's time to end these guessing games. This holiday season, give the dog lover in your life something they won't expect, the chance to decode their dog. It's the perfect time to shop for an Embark dog DNA test. Right now, Embark has a limited time offer on their breed and health kit and purebred kit for listeners of this show. Go to embarkvet.com to get free shipping and save $60 with promo code RAY. Visit embarkvet.com and use promo code RAY to save $60 today. Do it for your pup. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Wouldn't it be absolutely incredible if you got an instruction guide for life, where you're going through some relationship issues or drama at work or whatever challenging situation that is presented to you? You got a little pamphlet that helped you walk through that. What's awesome about therapy is that it kind of is. You're able to speak to a third person, talk about the issues you're having, and they can maybe offer some solutions for you that you can get unstuck. BetterHelp has connected over 3 million people and counting with licensed therapists, 100% online. So that means it is more convenient, more accessible, and more affordable. You just fill out a brief questionnaire and you get matched with the therapist in less than 48 hours. If things are not vibing between you and the therapist, you can switch out to a new therapist at any time. You got no waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. It's an amazing service and I wholeheartedly endorse them. Learn more and save 10% off your first month when you sign up today at betterhelp.com/Ray. That's betterhelp.com/Ray. Get some therapy and get unstuck.
I two important last questions on the straight edge front. Do you have any straight edge tattoos? And did you X up going to school?
I don't have any straight edge tattoos, thank the Lord above.
Okay.
Or any vegan tattoos. There are no fruits or vegetables wrapped around my ankle.
Okay.
And I have plenty of friends who still have them, and it tickles me to this day. But I don't think, maybe I X'd up at school once or twice, but I don't think I did. Even though the high school I went to had a very ripe straight edge community, it was still absolutely ruled by jocks and party bros and football team people. So me Xing up at high school would be a recipe for ridicule, most likely. So I probably avoided that.
Yep, that makes sense. So as you started to, I guess, get attention, obviously, for your your DJing, your performing, like all of that sort of stuff, and like you were talking about earlier, the idea of never playing in a band, and then all of a sudden, people now with the DJ stuff, people starting to pay attention to you. How did you? Obviously, on one hand, you were drunk a lot of the time, so like you maybe didn't have the time to absorb that attention. But like, was it difficult for you to kind of grapple with that attention of people being like, "Oh man, like I got to know Jason because like he's cool or whatever because he's this guy in front of me." How did you kind of deal with that, or is that something that you just ignored?
It was not difficult for me at all. I truly loved it. It was the first time in my life that I was that people were like vying for my attention. And that was something that I was just desperately seeking when I was younger. So it was totally a blast for me. I loved it. And, as much as I loved being straight edge, I would be lying if I didn't say that alcohol helped me, come out of my shell in a lot of those ways that I had a problem with in my younger years. So it was, when they say it's a social lubricant, that's probably the main reason why I got into drinking, was because I could find, I would go out and I would go to, a club or a party and like I would be dancing, and that's not something that I'd ever do when I was younger, to just like feel free and feel open and, talk to strangers and meet new people and meet girls and have girls like me. Like that was all stuff that I was not used to. And that helped me. So, by the time I started DJing and getting some notoriety or attention or touring around and traveling and throwing parties and stuff like that, I was absolutely ready for it.
Got it. Yeah.
Couldn't get enough of it.
Right. And I guess that is true. Like, whatever, if you start to get that attention when you're, 16, 17 playing in a band versus, maybe your early 20s, you're a little bit more prepared. I mean, you're still a dumb idiot, but maybe there's
how did it feel for you how old were you when you were when like your band was kind of at the peak?
Yeah. It was probably when I was like 18, 19, maybe a little bit later, but yeah, it was weird because I also worked at, I'm sure you went to the record store, Bionic Records. Yeah, I worked there too. And so it was
where I bought my first hardcore piece of hardcore music.
Oh, that's spectacular. The Huntington Beach was, that was my haunt.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So I probably sold you a record at one point too.
Yeah, spoken cassette was the first.
A light in the dark, I'm guessing.
Yes, it was.
Okay. But yeah, no, it was a learning process where you start to realize people like you for obviously the identity of you versus like who you actually are as a human. And so, yeah, it took me a couple of years to sort through that, especially, from a female perspective where it's like, oh, wait, like this girl just wants to make out with me because like I sing for a stupid band. And like, yes, that's fun for a couple of times. But then, once you realize that like, oh man, like this girl sucks to hang out with or whatever. Like you just start to, you start to recognize those things about yourself where it's like, that is not actually bringing me happiness. Like it's bringing me happiness for maybe 5 minutes, but that's not worth it.
Well,
so
you're a better man for coming to that realization at a younger age because me, I don't know if that ever gets old, my friend.
Well, I don't disagree with you, and I understand that's
when I say that. I just want to be clear that was a joke. But I mean, I do agree. And to quote Tupac Shakur, I don't want it if it's that easy. You have to, you start to realize that the things that you care about in other people go beyond their interest.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But yeah, I mean, there's. Right. Well, you have to sample it first. You have to understand that it's like, oh, okay, like this is what I like, this is what I don't like. I mean, that's obviously what your teenage / early 20s are all about. Mm-hmm. I find it interesting too, the path that you were kind of on in regards to, with the DJing. And then once you started to, people viewed you, and still rightfully so, like, the, for lack of a better term, like influencer, where it's like, okay, here's a person that has some cultural cachet. Like we need to get him to do this brand integration with us.
It's hard for you to say the word influencer right there. I like that.
Yeah, it just rolls right off the tongue. But I mean, obviously that was not a word back in the, whatever, mid 2000s or what have you. But so as these kind of like, business implications started to come at you, whether it's like, oh, do I work with, this brand and do this like thing? Like, do you enjoy the business aspect of it even to, to this day? Like, you obviously have to as sort of a freelance hustler like you are, but not everybody likes that side of the business. Where does it kind of sit with you?
I think, I think that if you can manage to, obviously the word influencer, just like the word, just like saying I'm a DJ, it comes with a lot of negative connotation to most people. And most people will kind of instantly dismiss it as, something that is not cool or lacking substance or whatever. And I always, my goal in life was always to just like be able to make a living and be happy and healthy and successful, doing whatever it is that I love and want to do. And, if I can do that, if I can make a living, quote unquote, attempting to be cool, just to be a cool person that other people, are interested in, then that seems great to me. And the word influencer obviously is bad, and the stereotypical influencer person is usually an awful human being, and everyone knows that. But every famous person nowadays is an influencer in some way, and I think that the whole influencer culture has existed long enough to where you can kind of carve out a subset in that world, or be able to do that for a living, or at least supplement your life in some way doing that. And find a way to do it in a way that works for you, that lets you be able to sleep at night, lets you be able to make money creating these experiences in the world, working with other brands in a way that you are proud of. And it's definitely not easy, and it's hard to do, and you kind of have to be very selective of how you do it, and you have to be clear about what your voice is going to be, and you have to say no to things that might give you money now, but will be a bad look for you down the road. But it's kind of interesting and exciting to see how you can do it, to see if you can find a way to make being an influencer, quote unquote, cool for yourself.
Right. And
it's not something that I've ever thought would happen in my life, but, thank God.
Right. Well, and two, to obviously not look like this, shell of yourself where you're, pitching diet tea one day and then, talking about, a Mitsubishi the next day, where it's just like, who the hell is this person?
Yes. Yeah. You could definitely tell when something is, completely inauthentic or phoned in, and, it doesn't matter at that point if somebody has 11 million followers, then they can just sell fit tea and Mitsubishis and stamps.com, whatever it is, that doesn't matter. But, if I don't have a huge following, I'm not a famous person, but if enough people care about, what my thoughts are, my opinions are, for me to make a living off of that from brands, then I'm very happy to do that. But yeah, I think
Well, the two last things I want to hit you with was the notion that obviously Del Taco, as we know, is far superior to Taco Bell, and it breaks my heart that anybody would obviously stand for Taco Bell. But the thing that blows my mind, and something that I literally have had discussions with people at Del Taco corporate to be like, why don't you, you are familiar with the Feed the Beat program of Taco Bell, even though we shouldn't give it any credit. I don't understand why Taco Bell, they've got good marketing, but like, why don't they do more? Like, they just seem to be, I don't know, I guess content with what they have, or I don't know. I'm sure you got thoughts on this, but.
Why doesn't Del Taco do more? You want them to scale and grow?
Maybe not scale it, maybe not be like nationwide, but it doesn't have the same. Obviously it has an attitude, unfreshing, believable. But they just, and they're bold, obviously. But I don't know. I feel like they're missing something where they could be, supporting bands, music, artists, like that sort of stuff. They just seem to be pretty vacant in that.
Yeah. I don't know. I like that about Del Taco. I like Del Taco's, they're them being content with what they've got, them not really straying away from anything. Like, just because you can,
doesn't mean you should
use your restaurant to empower, musicians or artists or anything like that. Like, it's not their duty to, and they can if they want to, and it's cool. But so many times when brands like that, especially like a fast food restaurant, does any type of artistic or cultural initiative like that, it's usually just some dumb shit that dies in 2 months, and it was just like they just did it for a tax write-off or whatever it is. And I think that I like that Del Taco just sticks to their guns, and like we do this one thing, and that's it. We're not going to open up in Boston or some other terrible city. We're going to stay in this area. We're going to keep doing what we do. We're going to have lots of great vegetarian and vegan options. We're going to be open until 7 a.m. You can buy breakfast at midnight. The Del Scorcho flows like wine. The French fries, well done, are excellent.
Yeah.
I don't want them to change. I like that they've stuck to what they are and what they believe in. And I like that they're not trying to compete with like a Taco Bell. They're taking the high road by not participating in that at all.
Respect. No, I see where you're coming from, and after hearing you articulate that, I see that. I see that mentality, and yeah, it is nice for them to, like you said, stick to what they know. But then I'm sure you visited the Del in Barstow, that obviously is, completely off the reservation.
I have, yeah. I stumbled upon it on accident a couple times, and it blew my mind eating a tostada. I'll never forget. But it's so weird, because to me, every city has their regional fast food chain that is like, it's not, it's like a Waffle House or Whataburger or any of these types of places where they're not a nationwide, McDonald's level restaurant, but there's enough of them, and they're always just kind of they're always going to be there, and they're never really going to change. Like that, it's that like comfort and nostalgia doesn't really exist. It's so powerful for a place like Del Taco, and I know for a fact that I'm going to go there. When I'm 75 years old, I'm going to be in the drive-thru at Del Taco because I'm going to drive by and be like, oh yeah, Del Tacos. But like that would never happen to me with McDonald's because it's just so homogenized and duplicated and scaled beyond anything that it doesn't feel real anymore. And I think Del Taco chose the perfect size and scale and growth, and they got as big as they possibly could before they lose control of the core product. And at that point, then it just turns into the same old bullshit anywhere. And that's one thing that I've always loved about things or places is like, how far can you push something, scale something, you know, In and Out, Del Taco, all these places are examples of that, to where, you know, if you get it to a point where it's too big, you're getting greedy, you want more money, like at a certain point, you're going to lose the magic, you're going to lose the focus, you're going to lose the control of your product, the customer service and all that shit. And then, you know, it's dead.
Then you turn into Taco Bell. Right.
Then you turn into Taco Bell, some diarrhea slop that you can buy at any old shithole in the world. And the owner of it is a billionaire, and the owner of Del Taco is a millionaire, and who cares?
Yeah, totally.
You're both going to be rich as fuck. You're going to have an amazing life. You have 10 houses and a boat. It's all good.
Yep. Right. Yeah. It's like, you know, but the difference between 6'7" and 6'9", it's just like, you know, do you really need those 2 more inches? It's like, no, I don't. It's all the same difference.
Great way to tie it all in together, my friends.
You know, that's what they call in the industry a callback. I know you're familiar with it. The last thing was, obviously, I'd be remiss if I did not mention your podcast whatsoever. You know, you've tripped onto podcast stardom with the show that you obviously created, How Long Gone. You know, joking aside, because of the, you know, nature of 2 white guys dicking around with each other on podcasts, which is obviously the bedrock of the industry, you know, what's kind of, I guess, surprised you of the fact that, you know, people have, I guess, gravitated towards the show? Like what, you know, I mean, you had no expectations going into it. I'm sure you had a little, but what's been, I guess, the most surprising for you? Excuse me.
Well, I've been into podcasting for a long time, and I've had some other shows, and I've produced other podcasts as well. So it's always been a part of my life, or not always, but, you know, my adult life. And I think the biggest thing that, or I guess the most pleasing surprise is really like the output was a direct correlation to how much work we put into it. And also like how important it is to delegate and streamline the duties with a partner or your team or whoever, to make it not feel like a job or not feel like work and get burnt out on it. So like we made an agreement or a pact at the beginning of it when we started it almost a year ago, kind of right when the quarantine was starting, and we didn't really have any expectations other than like, there's nothing to do, we're bored, let's start, you know, calling each other. He was living in New York, I was living in LA at the time, and we would just FaceTime each other and record it. And we put out an episode every 3 days or 3 times a week. So that's a pretty frequent cadence compared to most podcasts. And so we've almost been doing it for a year, and we're on episode like 156 or something like that, which is a lot for podcasts. You know, that's usually a few years in at least. So we decided to do that, and then deciding what jobs were going to be what. And like, so I came to it as like, I love podcasting. I love talking. I love recording. I love mixing, mastering, editing, graphic design, all that stuff. I hate talent booking. I hate managing the calendar. I hate all of that shit, and I don't want to do it. And that was like the biggest pet peeve of the podcasting world is, how do you get 3 or 4 people all in the same room, all at the same time, all together, working, cancellations, this person's late, that person can't do it. It was just, it's enough to make me not want to do it anymore. And so my partner, Chris, was like, I'll do all the bookings, you do everything else. And it got to the point where it didn't feel like work, even though I've been working harder on this podcast than anything I've ever done in my life, probably. Like, I made it a full-time job, even though it wasn't paying me any money when we started. And just, you know, I tried to make lemonade out of lemons. It was, you know, I was a DJ who was producing events and live things like that, and that all died instantly overnight with the quarantine. I had no revenue streams coming in. I had no money. All I had was just plenty of time and Wi-Fi. So I treated it like a full-time job. Worked every day at it, still work every day at it, And, it's the more, the more work we put into it, the more it takes off. And it's been, obviously that's like a pretty easy thing to grasp and like a concept that everyone believes in, but it's cool to see it happen to yourself and your own life. And it's great to have the accountability of a partner who works really hard and like pushes me when I'm feeling lazy or I just want to, hit the bong and eat some Del Taco. And he's saying, no, we got to do this. We got this, and this. And, I do it. I'm tired. I'm not having as much fun. But then, a year later, the fruits of the labor start popping up, and, it's really rewarding to see.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, and I think that, all joking aside, I think the fact that, at the end of the day, when you are having a discussion with friends and you are able to bring that energy to the microphones, like that's why people care about this stuff. It's like they don't want to hear, 7-hour conversations. I mean, some people do, obviously the listeners of the Joe Rogan podcast do, but, it's like you want to get in, you want to get out. You want to hang with some people, BS, and then hopefully learn something. So yeah, that's what you guys do in some capacity.
Yeah. I think, the world of podcasting has changed so much from when it began, where it was just, like some people who are on talk radio have this other thing now. Now the radio is kind of taking a shit. And then, it turned into this whole big crazy thing that's taken over radio, and it's a whole thing onto its own. And I liked the challenge or the idea of being able to take the kind of the fundamental roots of podcasting of just like, a couple of friends, bullshitting for an hour just because people like to hear people bullshitting, and you don't really hear it too much anymore. Everything has to be about something, and sometimes you just want to turn your brain off and not have it be about something and not have it be a message or a lesson to learn. It's just a real documentation of people talking in real time. And then if anything good comes from that, like a lesson or anything, then that's just icing on the cake. But, the world needs to remember that just a bullshit convo.
Good vibes. That's what you want.
Yeah, Seinfeld was a show about nothing. They seem to do all right.
Right. Yeah, they did okay. Well, Jason, thanks for hanging out, dude. I really appreciate this. I know it was a little off the beaten path of maybe what you normally talk about, but it was fun for me.
It was, but pleasure's all mine. Happy to regale the old days of Orange County and chat with a fellow OC bro.
Thank you very much, Jason, for coming on the show and letting me punish him in his Instagram DMs. Be like, dude, I don't know if you remember me, but he was like, oh yeah, man, I totally do. So it was fun, and I appreciated him letting me badger him about his background. But it was, like I said, if you want to listen to a really fun hang podcast, How Long Gone, I definitely recommend it. And you'll learn a thing or two, and you'll probably laugh along the way as well. Next week is another podcast. I would say podcast adjacent. He hosts a podcast himself, but I loved this one. His name is Vince Averill. He does a podcast called We Watch Wrestling, but in my opinion, more importantly, he ran 2 record labels, one called Capsule Recordings and one called Abidology. He released the Ottawa Jihad split 12-inch that is absolutely legendary. And he also released the first grade 7-inch. This dude has a long history with, DIY, punk and hardcore in the Detroit area. And he plays in a band, released some stuff on New Age Records. It's a really, really interesting chat. So that's what we got for next week. And until then, please be safe, everybody.
Tired of long waits and rushed care at the ER and urgent care clinic? Next time, stay home and let Dispatch Health bring the power of the hospital to you.
I call Dispatch Health. A care team of medical professionals actually come to your house.
They're the same caliber of people that you would see if you were at a hospital or an urgent care.
Dispatch Health can treat most non-life-threatening emergencies.
They can do the x-rays, they can do stitches.
Urinary tract infections, blood test, urinalysis, ultrasound.
It's almost everything that they can do at the ER.
You never feel rushed. They're there for you and only you.
I felt like their only patient.
And it costs no more than a trip to urgent care because Dispatch Health is covered by most insurance, including Medicare. See if we serve your home at dispatchhealth.com.
Dispatch Health really went above and beyond.
It's wonderful to have care come to your home.
House calls are back, and they're better than ever. Learn more at dispatchhealth.com.
The world of chocolate has been turned upside down.
A very unusual situation.
You saw the stacks of cash in our office.
Chocolate comes from the cacao tree, and recently, varieties of cacao thought to have been lost centuries ago were rediscovered in the Amazon.
There is no chocolate on earth like this.
Now some chocolate makers are racing deep into the jungle to find the next game-changing chocolate, and I'm coming along.
Okay, that was a very large crocodile.
Listen to Obsessions, Wild Chocolate on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
iHeartland in Fortnite, now open.
Ready, know that?
Yeah. The hottest concerts from the hottest artists. iHeartland in Fortnite. Games, friends, fun.
One more time.
The hottest concerts from the hottest artists. iHeartland in Fortnite. Games, friends, fun. Ready up and grab your squad. Go to iHeartRadio.com/iHeartland to start playing.